Okay. Oh, thank you, Justin. Okay. Hello, welcome everybody to the VPA 201 workshop. Subtitle, Electric Boogaloo. Hello, I am your host for this evening, Adolfo Alan Garduno. I am in pain, just kidding. Welcome to STC for our second workshop. I'm your host. I am a current student here at Cal State Fullerton, double majoring in psychology and economics, and I am a fifth-year senior, so this is technically my last spring semester, and then I'll be taking like a couple of summer courses, and then that'll be it. My past positions, I was the VPA just recently. I was also the MD&E and fundraising chair a couple of years ago here at Orange Coast College, so not too far. And then currently, I am retired. I have been promoted to the position of retired. Oh, I'd like to let Doug in, yes. Okay. Before we go on, if I could have you guys change your Zoom names if you haven't done so already. I'll give you guys a minute. But example, so your first, last name, your school, and then your pronouns if you'd like. Not too bad, not too bad. Don't be me and have a bad habit of including gamer as a pronoun. I always thought it was funny, but now that I look back, I think, well, I never did it in class, but I don't think I'd recommend it during like a CKI event, especially district. Let's see, where's the chat? There it is. And then, I think I sent it to Kyle, or Justin, I mean. Before I go on, I just wanted to give you guys a couple of links for Jamboard if you'd like to scan this QR code, or if you're on your computer, which will make it a lot easier, you can join us on Jamboard, where you can ask us, or ask me and the rest of us any questions that we might not have time for. Where's the chat? Oh man, it doesn't show it. Or Justin, can you share it? I can't seem to look at the chat at the moment.
Yeah, I posted all the links.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. Okay. Yeah, so if you guys want to sign in, look at the resources that I have made for this workshop, and then ask any questions that maybe we might not have time for at the end, and then hopefully we get to. Okay, moving on, here's our table of contents. First, we'll have a quick icebreaker being defining what VPA is. We'll go over some tasks, some managing the board, and then the last 3, 4, 5, and 6 will be more discussion-based topics that I think will be much more relevant as we progress into the term so far. Because hopefully you guys have just completed your first month as being VPA. Congratulations, round of applause. I know, it has been already a very long term. All right, so first icebreaker question. How many of us are here so far? Okay, 12 of us. Huh, okay, good. This is gonna be like if we had a bigger group, but I think I'd rather get more casual. Just how are you guys doing today? How's your STC going? Oh, I got more people.
Good.
You guys can. Oh, nice, thank you. You guys can turn off your mics. This is if you guys didn't attend the decon workshop, I'll have enough structure to give you guys a good path going forward. But I think I'd want this to be a little bit more casual since it's STC and finals are coming up, so I don't want to stress you guys out with too much information. And this is being recorded, so I made sure to like have all the notes ready for you guys to just take home. But yeah. Oh, and then if you guys just joined, if I could have you guys change your Zoom name to your first and last name and school and pronouns if you'd like. Let's see. I think who just joined us? Doug? Did we have a Doug join us? Oh, sorry. I thought we had Doug. Josh, since you're here, would you like to define what being a VPA is like?
Do you want to define what being VPA meant to you? Yeah.
Sure. I guess I could start things off. Let's see. I guess for me, being VPA, it was like a parent dynamic I had with our president. Originally, I was going to be our club secretary, but then around June, July, I ended up running for the position of VPA because it was vacant. And I realized from talking to like my predecessors or the previous VPAs and presidents, there's like a strong sort of parental role behind those two. And so either one could feel like more of like a logistical role, making sure like, oh, everything is up to code or on time. And the other person was more of like a supporting role, sort of like a father figure and a mother figure, if you'd like, just to make it simple to understand. And so whenever I could, I would try to compliment my president. So Sandra at the time. And so she was in charge of logistics and planning out different events. I would be supporting our officers, whether during one-on-ones or board retreats, all of that sort of stuff. And then, doing board spotlights and all. And I think that would be like the most simple way to put it in terms of being VPA. It's one of those two roles. It depends on who your president is and all. What do you think, Josh? Going back to you.
All right. Well, as your successor, I think you did a stellar job really supporting me on A board last year, which kind of inspired me to veer. Originally, my path was towards MDR, just because it's like, oh, I liked retreats. I really like that. So Spirit Social, then retreats, and then like I was like, oh, I've already planned events. How about I help people plan events instead? So yeah, I wanted to be a VPA so I can kind of help support the people that put in the most work at the club level. They put in a lot of work to make people feel included, and like I just want them to feel recognized and really make sure that officers aren't pushing themselves too hard and that it's not their whole life. So yeah, I really wanted to be the dad of the club. So it's like our board is kind of like the parental figures for our members. Then I'm the granddad now. So yeah.
Nice. Thank you, Josh. Let's see. I think we'll call on like maybe 2 more people just to see how you guys are all doing. Let's see. Lenore, how has been VPA like so far?
Hello. For me, it's pretty cool. Just seeing how the A board's like dynamic is so far. It's pretty fun learning about everyone, getting everyone to bond with each other, and like I'm pretty excited for the term. Like I heard fall is gonna be pretty rough, but I'm still excited because everyone seems pretty passionate. And oh, I do like, what's the word? Oh no, I need to look up synonyms for words. I relate. There you go. I relate to like your thing about like the mother and the father, like between the VPA and the president. I feel like it's a good dynamic to have one that's like more strict and then one that's like more laid back. And yeah, I feel like the A board is our babies and we get to spoil them, but also, make sure they do their work. And yeah, some people say I'm naive for being excited, but I don't care. I'm gonna be excited anyway. They can't stop me.
Okay, Lenore. Sorry, I cut out for a sec. Is my audio doing okay now?
Yes.
Okay, did you hear me talk? I don't know what happened. It just all paused, so I'm getting a little worried about my internet connection.
If you talk during me talking, I didn't hear it.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, Lenore.
Yes.
I think we'll go ahead and move on. Thank you guys for sharing. I think we'll come back and have more discussions later. Oh, getting ahead of myself. So we'll go back to tasks. So quick rundown of like the previous workshop and this slide and then the next, going over just daily, weekly, and monthly tasks. So in terms of being VPA, you'll probably end up being a role model day in and day out, making sure that you're trying to portray your best self for the group. Usually you'll be going over social media monitoring, going over what's going on in CKI, whether it's in the district or in your divisional updates, and then making sure to help out your A board. In terms of weekly tasks, of course, you'll be in charge of the board meetings, committee meetings, if you can make out to them as much as you can early on, especially. Going over upcoming event logistics, if you guys have anything coming up for your club, whether it's a retreat or, of course, the weekly general meetings, making sure the slides are out, helping each officer with their tasks if they had anything. And then mainly, especially like fundraising events, socials, working with each officer to make sure that their event is going to be running smoothly, or if it's going to be in person, making sure that they're following the health and safety guidelines that you or your campus sets up. And then just going over any upcoming district or divisional events, making sure that your club is ready for them, or have all the forms, and working with your other e-board officers to make sure that you and your club are a-okay to go on ahead. And then for monthly tasks, scheduling out one-on-ones, since those can really eat up your time. I know for me, they took up basically like almost half of my week over the semester. So I really recommend getting those done ahead of time, especially in the summer and in the beginning of the year, so it doesn't affect you during your finals or midterm season. Going over e-board reflections every month, maybe right before you guys turn in the MRF, working with the secretary to make sure that you guys are on the same page in terms of meeting your guys' goals, or looking ahead for any upcoming maybe restrictions, or, well, for us, looking back on my term, it always helped just ensuring that we were abiding by any new COVID restrictions. And so you guys will have to deal with
Oh, your audio.
Hello? Hello?
Heard that.
Okay. Okay, is my audio better?
Mhm.
Okay, sorry, I am not in the best spot. Where was I? Let's see. Oh my God. Okay, monthly, and then so you guys will be dealing a lot more with room and campus reservations. Because you guys are going back in person, there's probably going to be a new set of restrictions. One thing that I know that I had to deal with a lot going back in person, when I was like fundraising chair, I'd always have to go back to my VPA and ask them like, okay, can I have this room, or can I reserve this area of the school? And because you guys are used to not doing that so much, you guys are going to have to ensure that at the beginning of the term, so right now in the summer, ensuring that once you go back into the fall, you guys have a room if you guys are going in person, or a space outside if you guys want to host an event and all. And then of course, planning out your different retreats and socials. We'll go further on that later in the presentation with regards to when to have them, usually during each season. And then especially towards the end of the year, planning out awards and banquets so that it isn't like an avalanche of work during your finals or midterm season. So number 3, so managing your board. This is exactly word for word from our previous presentation over decon. So very briefly, of course, your weekly board meetings, an opportunity to check in with each and every of your officers, what they're doing in the club, going over their committee progress if they have their own committee, ensuring that
they up to update on what you guys are doing within the club. Sorry, my parents just came in. Scheduling out upcoming events with your club officers, making sure that you guys aren't conflicting schedules, and then going into board retreats and socials. Like I mentioned previously, having one typically in the summer and the fall, winter, and then if you guys can in the spring. Ideally in the summer and fall, you guys are more or so wanting to make them about board training, providing some structure for your officers, probably training them with regards to their club committees, making sure that they delegate enough work so that they're not burning out themselves. And then towards or further into the term, you guys have more and more socials and more bonding, so you guys finish the term strong. And then of course making the most out of them, having fun as much as you can, because it will get tougher and tougher as the term goes on. And then finally, one-on-ones and goal setting. You want to make sure you get to know each and every one of your officers. At first, it'll be kind of strange, since you guys may or may not know them too well. But hopefully, after getting to know them during those one-on-ones, getting some quality time together, maybe hanging out. If you guys are going back in person, it should be easier to work with them and have a more what's the word? Superfluous? No. Rambunctious? No. A much more cohesive working relationship. And then of course, having board spotlight. This could be up to how you'd like to conduct it. My predecessors either had it during their general meetings, sometimes during their board meetings. I had videos, which each and every one of my officers, except my president, because they opted out. And I would present those during general meetings or after during like a social. And I think Josh right now is having them weekly during general meetings. Josh, did you want to go into how you're doing board spotlights this term?
Okay. So for this specific semester, since this is really the start, your A board is mainly going to consist of new members. So maybe the club might not know them as well. So yeah, especially because since it's a virtual term, it's harder to get to know people like that. So I specifically wanted to put out as to why they ran for this position and what made them interested. But then on next semester, hopefully I'll get to do a more casual one, where it's just getting to know you. What's your favorite anime? What's your favorite, etc. for whatever our club theme is next semester. But right now it's more oriented towards motivating them by putting their goals out towards the rest of the club.
All right, thank you, Josh. And then I think that covers, and then finally helping set up your officers during those one-on-ones, getting to know them, talking to them, seeing how they're doing, and making sure that they don't end up burning themselves out, and setting them up for success by making sure their priorities are set straight. So of course, making sure that they focus on their health, their personal health, mental health, their school, their family relationships or support system, and then of course CKI. And then trying to find the right balance between all those three without getting too ahead of yourselves. So one big aspect I wanted to cover in this workshop was going to be campus communication. Is my audio okay, actually, before I go on? Okay, sorry. So since you guys are going to be going back in this fall for the most part, you guys will have to deal with a lot more paperwork with regards to reservations, the different, I guess, paper trails that you guys have to follow. When I transferred over, the system to reserve different spaces on campus were completely different to what I witnessed at Cal State Fullerton. So I'm sure for you guys going back into school, it's going to be a similar situation where you might not know where to begin. So of course, getting to know the different personnel on campus, working with your public relations officer most likely, so you guys have a better idea of how you guys want to conduct events, and working with the e-board so that you guys are all on the same page and know what kind of restrictions or health and safety guidelines the school might be providing or restricting you guys to do. You guys want to get acquainted with this as soon as you can. So maybe during the summer, if you guys aren't taking any summer courses, reaching out to those different faculty members to see how you guys can reserve rooms ahead of schedule or different spaces. I think maybe ideally after your finals, so that no other club beats you to those spaces. Because I know as soon as people find out where they can sign up, they'll probably take it as soon as they can. And then of course looking at for your club rush events, your orientation days, trying to get as many people out to come and get to know freshmen or incoming transfer students, sending out emails to the different faculty members, of course, and working on your email etiquette if you can. Maybe ask probably your other classmates or friends that have taken business writing so you guys know how to write a very formal email, or asking your predecessors for those contacts. And then find out for sure what your club can and can't do, so that once you guys are in the middle of planning out the rest of your term, or especially planning out the fall, that you guys have a set schedule and know, that nothing's going to conflict, or that you guys are working hand in hand with the campus. Oh, and then of course, I think they mentioned it in the earlier workshop, if you guys attended, which was the President's 101, but check out the updated ERF that they'll send out. I think Ryan mentioned it. So that's the document for, Scott Smith. That's a document to allow other clubs and divisions to attend. So look out for that, and districts, I think. Okay, so, sorry. There you go, sorry. 5, handling disciplinary measures. So as VPA, you're gonna be in charge of conflict resolution between you, your officers, and maybe some club members. So of course, my general advice for this, of course, is number 1, take a deep breath. Because how to put it? I guess after COVID, I am worried about how, I guess, people will start interacting again. I feel like it'll be really fun at first, like all this new energy from seeing your friends in person, really cherishing that time that you guys missed out on. And so I just have a feeling it might just get overdone. So I would just look out for any inappropriate behavior or events that could happen, whether online or in person. Oh, thank you, Justin. There's a sign-in link for the workshop. With regards to conflict resolution, so hopefully, nothing happens, but of course something might. Making sure that you guys listen, understand both sides or multiple sides of any conflict, whether between members or officers, take a neutral and respectful tone, taking out your emotions out of the equation. So remember to think level-headedly, consider what the options the campus might have, if it's behavior that might be considered territory of like maybe Title IX, or stuff that of course goes against your code of conduct. Always going by whatever your procedures are in your code of conduct and your bylaws when it comes to disciplining members or officers. Warnings are exactly that. Do not push with repeating issues. Make sure that your opinion or your guys' jurisdiction within the club is heard and taken seriously within members. And then of course, going back and working with them if these behaviors come up again, or if you guys need to work on them, or maybe take action with regards to suspension or expulsion from the club. And then again, when in doubt, what you think is best for your club as a whole. So working with your e-board officers, of course, especially with your president and maybe your club advisor, your Kiwanis advisor, with regards to what the best decision would be for your club. Okay, so this is now up into advice and just some worthwhile skills that I wanted to post up for you guys. Most of these notes are from my industrial organizational psychology classes. And so this you could apply to yourself or your members or your officers, I mean. And this is with regards to working with them in terms of personal motivation, burnout prevention, and then I think finding the resolution throughout the term. Oh, and then of course, time management, which is a very big key to success here in CKI. I guess some final tips with regards to Circle K and being VPA. I think I can't stress this enough, but I think Lenore mentioned it earlier, but although the fall might be, the most impacted with regards to like general members and most of your officers with regards to scheduling, I think for vice presidents, the most important season is the summer, because you have all this time. Hopefully, assuming you don't have like summer classes or not too many summer classes, but this is the best time to plan out what you want to do with your term, setting yourself up for success, your officers with committee training, board officer training, during those board retreats, working on a club calendar, working on a board timeline, working on your SMART goals and setting them up for your officers, and then talking to them every now and then to see if they're meeting those goals that they set over the summer. So there's so much to do in the summer, so little time really for you guys to work with the rest of your officers. So I can't stress this enough, but right after STC, I think it's when you guys really need to get going before the going gets tough. And yeah, I think now we're gonna just have an open forum. So if you guys have any questions specifically about like being VPA, any stories that you guys want to share, you can go on ahead. We're gonna go check the Jamboard right now to see if you guys posted anything. And then there's the workshop sign in. So yeah, we'll now just transition to like open discussion for you guys. Also, I apologize for like the interruption. So personally, I don't know if you guys can see my background. I'm at work or at my parents' jewelry shop. So I insisted that I just be left alone, but people just kept coming in. So I just feel bad that I kept getting interrupted. So I'm so sorry. So here's my background. So I'm here in the back. So I was hoping it would be like nice and quiet. But let's see. So tips on planning board retreat. Number one, I think later tomorrow, there's going to be a workshop specifically about planning retreats. It's not necessarily aimed towards board, but it does have a lot of aspects or notes that I took actually from planning on my board retreat. But yeah, if you guys have any questions for that, go ahead and attend that workshop tomorrow. I very much recommend it. I think it's being hosted by our very own Brittany Chow and Sandra Chang, so my past president and MD&E. But I looked over their presentation. I'm just trying to remember what they didn't cover. Specifically for board, since it's like 4 seasons, you ideally want to have at least 2 board retreats, hopefully 3. 4 is like really stretching it. But the first 2 are, thank you. That's Josh's me. The first board retreat, if you guys haven't had it already, you want to plan it out probably a month in advance and ask your e-board officers to help out.
The workshop that's on retreats is for virtual retreats. Do you have advice for an in-person retreat? Oh
yeah, sorry, I was gonna get to that. I got distracted by the meme. But yeah, same thing. Planning them out a month in ahead. If it's in person, and I think right now with COVID still being a thing, then you want to first find a location that's either central to your board or close enough that you guys are all able to attend, and within. I think OC just moved into the orange color or orange tier, so I think they're alleviating some of the restrictions. You want to let your Kiwanis advisors know that you guys are trying to have a retreat, following any restrictions within your county. And then once you have the Airbnb, make sure that everybody has either been vaccinated, especially now, and has taken the COVID test, I think 2 weeks in advance. Finding the Airbnb might be tricky because it just depends on what your guys' budget is, which is why kind of need that month to plan it out. And then once you have all the logistics settled with regards to the location, health and safety, and the attendance, and then you can start planning out how long you want to have it. So usually probably a weekend. The first day you want to probably get all the business stuff done ahead of time. So your board meeting, your training done, and then towards the end of the weekend, you want to probably work on socials and board bonding. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, and then since you're gonna usually be having a couple of workshops for training, just asking your e-board officers or predecessors, or if any of your other officers had served on board recently, letting them lead a workshop, whether it's on email etiquette, communication resources, so teaching them how to fill out a surf, committee training, so how to delegate work, how to construct their timeline for their committees, just coming up with different resources and training workshops that are geared towards your school, because each school is different and have different events and logistical issues. So for a smaller club, the VP might have more responsibilities, and therefore the officers might not need to worry so much about location, health and safety that might be covered by the VPS, or maybe if you just have a VP. And then for larger clubs, of course, how they could either monitor your guys' social media if you guys are a big club or planning out the large event. So probably how to chair a meeting or how to chair a large scale event, the planning for the logistics and all that other sort of fun stuff.
And is there a particular reason why you recommend 3 different board retreats? Because I know my club, we traditionally do 1 board retreat just before the fall starts, and that's it.
It just has a lot to do with training and bonding, because the business end of the term for you guys is right at the beginning. Because after like the middle of the fall or after the fall, it's really not much else that like the e-board can do with regards to like event planning. So at the beginning of the summer, you guys want to set up your board timeline, your board itinerary, or your board calendar, just so that the rest of the term is set in stone, or at least has some structure to it. And then towards the end of the term, since you guys are, you know, have some experience at that point, you guys don't have to worry so much and can now just focus on board bonding. I thought having multiple retreats would help, because now you guys have a dedicated amount of time to come together and, you know, get to know each other. Because I know during the semester it might be too busy. I think for after COVID, I think a lot of us realized that, like, how much we take for granted, like that quality time we have with each other when in person. So it made a lot of sense for us during COVID. And I think when we go back, it'll make a lot more sense for you guys to like dedicate more time specifically to getting to know each other and how integral that is to success. So I think a lot of what you can attribute to your club's success is how cohesive your board is as a unit. And that has a lot to do with bonding and getting to know each other and finding those very fruitful working relationships. And it's hard to do that without dedicating a weekend or two or multiple socials to just that, to getting to know each other, becoming more than just club officers, and maybe act like closer to friends, or what
But
you will.
so to that end, if because it seems like basically the most important retreat is just the one that you do before the fall for the training. The rest of them are more for socials and bonding. Then would it be okay to then rather have multiple retreats to just have multiple socials that are maybe a day long or a few hours spread throughout the term? Just because I'm concerned of like asking officers to give up multiple weekends for decon and FTC and STC and then board retreats. I feel like that might be kind of a lot to ask for, especially throughout the semesters.
No, that's a good concern. Looking back, I know for our board, we yeah, there was a lot of time dedicated to all those events. And so going back in person, I'm sure it's going to be a lot more time consuming because of all the getting used to we have to do again. Sorry, I'm just thinking back on having more. You could do that. I guess it just depends on like the size of your club, because I feel like for larger clubs, they will want to dedicate like more training because it'll be hard to like focus individually with members. And then if you're a smaller club, I think it's a lot more easier to be cohesive. So I think with your question, I think it depends on the size of the club.
Do you mean small in terms of members or small in terms of like board?
Smart in terms of board.
I'm a board of 12.
Okay. So yeah, I think the way you described it, I think it would have been very similar to the way we did it at Fullerton, because we had about like 14 members and usually 13 or 12 of us would be able to attend. And like how you worded it, we kind of ended up doing that. We had like one big retreat online that we had training for, and then another retreat later in the summer that ended up being like half of it just final training, and then the rest of it was like board bonding. And specifically, now that you mentioned it, thank you for reminding me. Board pictures, and what was it? The attire, so that you guys have like more professional photos together, whether at your school or a different like nice setting for your board pictures. So that was like the main reason we had the second one. And then yeah, the one that we had in the winter was much more social based. So that one was like, I think like a day and a half. And that was just us getting together, having a social at my house. And I think just wrapping up any logistical issues we had, whether it was like awards or I think one of our like final retreats. And then we had like a spring hangout at that point. So it generally like got easier, or not easier, but like more and more social as the
Okay.
progressed.
And so was it, since you said you had one at your house, so another concern would be having multiple retreats would also be very expensive.
Yeah, we never had one at like a specific location. I just mentioned it because previous boards would have them at like an Airbnb. But with my board, you don't have to have it like at an Airbnb, because my board ended up having it either at my backyard in an open space. I think we had it at Josh's backyard for a moment. We went like on a hike, so outside of everybody's houses. So we did our best to, make sure that everybody was safe and 6 feet apart and all. Oh, and then were there any other questions on the Jamboard, or any other questions from the crowd? Or Brandon too. You guys can go ahead and ask me anything. Oh, and then yeah, I think Justin either mentioned it or posted it on the chat. So remember to sign up, and then all the resources are there on the Google Drive. So I think I included, where did I put it? Just to explain it. Ooh. It should have an event approval form. So this is all the resources I shared at DCON, and I just brought it back with some other documents. Oh no, is it shared with me? This will be like the last thing, just so that you guys have like some structure. Here you go. My God, my computer's like so slow. Here you go. So these are all examples or templates that you guys are welcome to go ahead and use. The first one is being the, I think, club board timeline. So this had like each position lined out, which each month having each officers like set up different goals that they had in mind. And then you could use this during your one-on-ones to check in, like, how are you guys meeting your goals? Are you guys behind in any way? Or are you guys ahead of schedule? So say like your historian might have like different projects that they're working on that they can update. Maybe your MD and your MDs are planning out the retreats, so making sure that they're on schedule so that they don't have to push them back too far. The next one is, sorry, I'm just perfect. Our club calendar. This is an example of what we had during Fullerton this past year. So looking at all our different weekly events, ongoing conflicts, we would make sure we didn't have any. And we also set up like a weekly timeline that we had. So usually a committee would be meeting bi-weekly. And so we would ensure like no other event was going on, or no other committee was interfering with somebody else's. And our officers like knew, okay, so there's like a set schedule that people can either attend or participate in if they want to go to a different committee meeting, if they are working together or collaborating with another committee. The smaller goal setting that you guys can share with your officers too at the beginning of the term. This is just set up your officers for success, making them write out their goals, what they have in mind for the term, and then working with them during the one-on-ones to see if they're working towards them or if they want to change them up and do something else. This should be, what is this one? Sorry, my Zoom is like getting in the way. The event approval request form. So that's for event logistics. That one's to see whether or not your officers are aware of what they want to do during their event and are just like coming up with something on the fly the day of. So this is like right before board meetings. You want to make sure that like, hey, if you're going to present an event, tell me about it. What do you see in mind? If it's like a fundraising event, like how long is it going to be, the duration? What goals do you have in mind? If it's going to be in person, are you meeting any of the health and safety restrictions or guidelines? Have you talked to the VPS? Have you talked to the public relations or historian chair to see whether or not you have publicized this like a week in advance, or how much like time do you need in order to publicize this, make your graphic for it? So these are like all the different reminders that you need to give your officers before they have an event, and so that you and your e-board are up to date on those events. The next one is the template I had for one-on-ones and questionnaires. So this is a set of different questions that you can ask them, topics that you can cover with regards to their position specifically, and then their motivations or stressors that they might have in life, and what you could do to help counteract them or help guide them throughout the term. And then of course, last two are the templates for board meetings and committee meetings. So take from it what you will. If you want to copy and paste it or adapt it for your own club, you guys are more than welcome to. This is just the template that we used here at Cal State Fullerton. And then in both cases are revised so that they have a much more clear format to them, and they're much more streamlined. So your board meetings don't take like 3 hours or something. Hopefully, maybe at the beginning of the year, you guys have had like a couple 3 to 4 hour ones, but towards the end of the year, for me, it became like an hour. And yeah, that is about it with regards to resources. And any other questions, you guys are more than welcome to ask me outside or at my email. But yeah, I think that is it. I think we're out of time now. Oh, and then don't forget to sign in. If you guys haven't already, I think hopefully Justin put the contact in or the sign in sheet. But yes, thank you for coming. I think what is next?